Good morning and welcome back to the Football Terrace. Thank you very much for tuning in. As always, do us a big favor. Hit the like button, hit the share button, hit the retweet button. What a big week we are in for, both in terms of football. Big game tonight, Arsenal versus Liverpool. We have a huge array of games during the midweek period for the Carabao Cup, including Brighton versus Man United, Tottenham versus Chelsea, and Arsenal Liverpool again on Thursday. And of course, a big weekend of matches as well. And it is transfer deadline week. We are going to see so much movement across clubs. We are going to be giving you as much updates and as much of the news relating to Man United, Arsenal, City, and Tottenham as we can. Of course, we will cover Chelsea and Liverpool. It does appear that the majority of their business is all but done. We're starting this morning on Manchester United. I think it's important to start there with everything going on surrounding them at the moment. There's a lot of noise in relation to Alex Telles. A big update last night from Fabrizio Romano. Big updates this morning from the likes of David Ornstein in relation to this deal. It feels very much like it's moving in the right direction. It says here that Alex Telles and Man United have found an agreement on personal terms tonight. Also, the final details and agent commissions. United are still in talks with Porto about a fee, but they also have a plan B. David Ornstein here has said that Man United and Alex Telles have agreed completely on personal terms and are now just working on the final details with Porto to agree a fee. That deal is looking like it's going to happen. That deal is looking like it's going to happen and be announced at any moment. And I spent some time last night watching Alex Telles' football, watching his crossing ability, really looking at him from more so from an offensive point of view. What a player Man United are going to pick up. The fee is going to be somewhere in the region of about £17 million. He's going to come in on a 4-year deal. And what's amazing about that is that you divide 17 by 4, and what a top quality player you are getting. What a top quality player you were getting for just over £4 million per year. It's absolutely sensational. It truly is. Welcome and thank you to Day Monroe for becoming an official member of the Football Terrace. You become a first team member. You can sign up as well in our description below. There's 2 things I need you to do actually in the description below. Sign up to becoming a member from as little as 99p per month. And also go on there. You'll see a link to click onto the Football Terrace Clips account where we're putting clips up almost daily from different streams and different moments around the Football Terrace. Go and support that channel co-owned by myself and Elite KJ. Go and subscribe to that now. Really do need your support there. Sensational FC says Lampard adores Kante. No way he's leaving. Why should he sit on the United bench? That must be you guys talking to one another because I'd love to get him, but I do not think that's going to happen. Let's do some more of your comments here. Billy T says, hi, Terry. Do you think we'll sign a centre-back or just tell us and possibly Sancho? Yeah, I can't see a centre-back coming in. I wish I could, but I don't see it. I really don't see it happening. I think there'll be a lot of activity around Man United this week, but I can't envisage there being a centre back as you say involved. I just don't. What's interesting this week though, Smalling is very likely to leave. The Andreas Pereira deal, the more I read about it, the more excited I get. You know, we could be picking up 27, alone with a £27 million option to buy at the end of it. And as long as he does a fairly decent job in Italy, he'll be gone for what will be a high fee, a very high fee for a player of his standard. And that's what it comes down to a lot for me. It's a player of his standard. That's a really high amount of money. You know, between Smalling and Andreas Pereira, we could be raising somewhere in the region of £50 million. Who would have, legitimately, who would have thought that? Who would have even imagined that would have been possible? I certainly didn't. So there's some amazing outgoings as well. That will give us the money needed, in my opinion, not only to complete Tellus, but to go and get the Sancho deal over the line as well. Gotti Riaz, thank you for upgrading your membership to first team member. It means a great deal to us that you've done that. Just looking, another one of our members here says, yo, Terry, seeing how you reacted to United fans turn on Ollie makes me respect you much, much more. Chelsea fans should take note. Do you know what it comes down to, mate? It's not about people that don't want Ollie. I'm not turning on them. I'm calling out people who have no balance to their opinions, who are completely one-sided, who, like eye test, I see nothing that Ollie has brought to us, no positives that Ollie's brung to the club. I find that a very weird notion. I find it a very strange thought process to go through as a Man United fan, that Ollie's done nothing of any positive note to the club. Strange. So I call them out. And I call them out on the hypocrisy. You can't say that Paul Pogba is looking trash because every single player around him is awful. And then at the same time have expectations that Ollie is going to get a tune out of all these awful players. That makes no sense. Zero sense. None. Anyway, we move on. Let's talk about these transfers. Ivan here says, morning, Terry. There are several reports about a late bid for Man United going in for Kante. What do you think of this? Yeah, listen, my bro, I would love it to be true. I would absolutely love it to be true. As I say, I would love for Man United to sign Kante. I think he's an absolute sensation. I think he's one of the best midfield players in the world. He's just absolutely out of this world. But I cannot see it happening. The signing of Declan Rice, some people say maybe Lampard's looking beyond Kante, but I'd love to pick him up. And you could probably pick him up fairly cheap if he was to go at this point in retrospect. So we see. Haunted Radio here says, Terry, when do you expect the Sancho bid to go in? I think a Sancho bid is going to go in by Wednesday, Thursday. I'd love it just to go in today, but I think Wednesday, Thursday, we may see a bid. It's going to go down to deadline day. In my opinion, it's going to go down to deadline day, that deal, which is a little bit unfortunate. I would rather see it happen before deadline day, before the weekend, but I doubt it will. Alex Telles, I think Alex Telles could be in the Man United squad by the time we get to Sunday's game. We're going to take a couple of calls this morning from you now. We've got Kish on the line with us. Kish, welcome back to the Football Terrace, my friend. What do you want to say?
Terry, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Perfect. Go for it, bro.
Yeah, I have two things I want to talk about. I'll talk about Ola a little bit later, but there's one thing regarding transfers, right? And it's Alex Telles and Jadon Sancho. And as you know, football is a wide pool in terms of players when it comes to talent, right?
Mm.
And the problem I have with this thing is that I'd prefer if I got in these players like before the season had started, because they can gel. And yes, we didn't have a really much of a preseason. But the thing is, Jadon Sancho can't be the be all and end all of the success of Manchester United. Same for Alex Telles. I'm saying that, fans can be telling me that Jadon Sancho is the only guy. Because I'm saying Jadon Sancho has been at Dortmund for 3 seasons, right? His second season he kicked on, did brilliant. And last season should be his third season. He did exceptionally well. I think 17 goals and 17 assists in the league, something like that. So, exceptional talent, and he's just 20 years old. But what I'm saying, aren't there other players out there at the age of Jadon Sancho, or even a little bit older?
I would say to you this. We're getting a bit of playback on your line a bit there, mate. I would say that there have been very few players at Jadon Sancho's level and at his age in the last 20 years, let alone available right now. It isn't just about this. I have this argument on this platform a lot with people. It isn't just about it isn't just about technical ability. It's about the outputs that go with it. And as you know, from my point of view, I'm not saying the outputs of an averagely technically gifted player and the outputs of a highly gifted player. You should be comparing their overall status as a football player. But when you're talking about the elite level individuals, the outputs become very, very important. I've been doing the research. There's not a player in the last 20 years of elite level European football who has the goals to game contribution ratio from the start of his career that Jadon Sancho has. The guy in league football is at nearly 100%. Plus we know he's got great technical ability. Plus we know he's got wonderful skill. He's got great athleticism. He's got good technique. Plus the outpossessor. So let me finish my point, mate. So it's very hard to find somebody else of Sancho's level. Secondly, I love the approach Ollie is taking, that these are my targets. I'm going to go for them. If it doesn't happen, and there isn't anybody else of equal measure, then we're going to wait, go away, and reassess, because we're going to look at the Man United project as a medium to long term sort of project to fix. We're going to look at the project as a project that we're not just going to fix in 1 or 2 summers. It's going to take time. We're going to sign the right players. We're going to assert ourselves in the transfer market. And that's the other element as well. I don't want a scattergun approach. And I'm not saying dropping Sancho now and going for Kante and Thomas Partey is necessarily scattergun. But what was that? Was that already a plan to do that? If the answer was no, then I don't want it to change. And the reason that I'm starting to see some green shoots of hope in relation to our transfer dealings, look what we're about to pick up as deals for absolute dead wood that not a single Man United fan rate, in Smalling, potentially in Lingard, but in also Pereira. And that's because we're starting to conduct ourselves properly in the transfer market again. And trust me, it will take a few more years to bear the fruits of that labor. But if we start asserting ourselves in the market, we sign players cheaper, we get them in on lower wages, we sell for more expensive and quicker, so we can move on dead wood. That gives us more cash on a year-to-year basis, meaning easier to renew contracts of stars, easier to sign new superstars when they come through the ranks. And it helps to mitigate against the leech owners we have who are extracting tens of millions of pounds a year out of the football club. So when I look at this from a business point of view, a transfer point of view, and a culture point of view, we are moving in the right direction. However, what I'll say, final point, I agree with you, bro. I'd love for all of this to be done early, but the market just doesn't work and operate in that way. There's a reason that it's taken us till now to start selling people, because the clubs interested in buying our players have also decided to wait. We are not going to keep buying before we sell. Otherwise, you end up with a barrage of dead wood remaining at the football club. So we have to wait for these things to start like a domino effect. And we've got Pav on the line here. Sorry, Keith. We've got Pav on the line with us. Pav, what do you want to say? Alex Telles could be happening this week. Plus the Sancho deals around. 2 big players leave. Well, big exits for the likes of Pereira and Smalling. Give me your opinions, mate.
Yeah, so obviously I've been reading the reports yesterday, going into last night as well. I'm finding it hard to believe how we're going to get Sancho over the line in 7 days. With the Alex Telles deal, I can see that coming over the line, because it's not exactly a really big money move. It's just that obviously the clubs haven't, from what I've read, the clubs haven't reached an official agreement on the price. But as obviously personal teams agreed and whatnot. But with the Jadon Sancho, I'm really finding it hard to believe we can get that done in 7 days, unless that everything's agreed. Like, there was obviously the reports about all the unofficial bids and all that. They're just waiting for the actual bid to be submitted, and everything else has been sorted. I'm losing hope every day as the days have gone past about the Jadon Sancho deal. But I'm going to be happy if it goes through. But it's got to a point where the clubs just took the excitement out of us. If you know what I mean?
I do get you on that, and like I've said, I get that train of thought. The excitement element is there. What the deal can go through in very, very quickly with Sancho. What I believe has happened is that United think they have their ducks in a row, so they think they have done everything they need to do to be able to submit the bid and then process everything quickly, because what can protrude a deal and make it slow down further even once a bid is accepted is working through the legalities, working through the salary element, the bonus elements, the commission elements with agents, etc. It's been reported on so many occasions that has all been done, and United are waiting until this point to submit their bid. That's where we see if the club at the very least have done the due diligence element and have themselves ready for this bid. So if they say they submit the bid today and it gets accepted, if they've got everything else done, it should be medical, film something, sign. Does that make sense? In terms of then spending a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks negotiating with players and agents, I believe that kind of work has already been done based on what the majority of journalists have told us all along. You know, we had Rob Blanchett on the other day who basically said in his world, now when he's been talking to sort of very connected journalists from his world behind the scenes, none of them have expected Man United to do anything until this week on Sancho officially with Borussia Dortmund. And a lot of the stuff that's come out, especially from the continent, has just been noise and kind of the reiteration of the same information that United are still not bid. They're going to do this, they're going to do that, X, Y, and Z. But I do get your point completely that it takes excitement away. I get we want the players in early as an example. But like I said, from my point of view, I feel like, how do I put this? It's about the end result. And if we end up getting the money in for the players leaving and we end up landing the stars we were after and we get people in for good, the point I'm making is if we end up getting Sancho in for 90 million, then it's worth it because it saved us 18 million pounds. And we need to start behaving like that as a football club. We can't go around overpaying and underselling every year because you do come to a point where you run out of money. I know fans are like, I just want us to pay it because we don't want to care about the money. But in real terms, we have to start caring about it in terms of we will run out. We don't have a bottomless supply. Our owners take 60, 70, 80 million pound a year out of the football club. If you burn the candle at both ends, you will at some stage, and it isn't even always running out of money. It could be the difference between, like, say we acted properly for the last 7 years, 8 years, and didn't overspend and undersell and overpay on salaries. I'd have no control. If someone said, "Oh, we're going to go in for Mbappe," we'd have the money for it. But because of how we've operated, we've left ourselves short, and we need to address that at the same time as trying to rebuild the club up on the field of play. These things have to work in tandem. They have to work simultaneously. If we don't, at some point, a certain area is going to fall down, in my opinion. So I just think we need to be. I get we want the excitement. All we care about is excitement, the glamour, the razzmatazz. But these two things have to coincide. And what we don't get enough of off the mainstream media is conversations about how these things work, why it's important to do what Man United are doing, why Dortmund negotiate the way they do. If the mainstream media and football were to educate us on these matters, a bit like the transfer. Look how Liverpool fans got themselves all excited because they're paying for installments on players. It's like, man, we should have been educated on this by the mainstream media years ago, and it wouldn't seem such a shock. When you hear, oh, this player's costing us £100 million, how can we afford that when we've only got £50 million in our bank account? Well, because you never pay it all up front anyway, bruv. But no one ever educates us on it. So do you get where I'm coming from? That's the bit that needs to be needs to be spoken about. In terms of the outgoings, let me ask you guys this as Man United fans. How impressed will you be with the business if we get, even if we got 25 million for Pereira in the end and 20 million for Lingard, 20 million for Smalling? Would that be a massive surprise to you that we're able to raise so much cash for players of that level?
You know, Terry, I don't think it's more of the price tag for me. I mean, you know, getting that type of money for them would be brilliant. But, you know, the thing for me is that these players will be finally leaving the club. And, you know, when Ole first got the job, he said, you know, a lot of these players basically won't be wearing the shirt again. And for the guy to come in, you know, such a short space of time, you know, basically this would be his, like, second full season if he sees it out. And, you know, to get a player like Smalling out, Lingard, Pereira, and, you know, maybe Rojo, it would be brilliant because a lot of these players, they definitely need to leave to free up the books in terms of wages that we could use on other players such as Jadon Sancho and other incoming players as well.
Yeah, and wages-wise, I mean, those three leaving give Man United about 15 to 16 million pounds, again, additional income. That more than covers the salary of Sancho and Alex Telles coming in. So from a financial standpoint, it leaves us in a strong position. And I think it's really, really important. We're adding Terry Tibbs. We've only got 5 minutes left on this show, but we're adding Terry Tibbs to the line now. Terry, welcome back to the Football Terrace, mate. Big week for Man United. As a rival, what do you think? What do you think we're going to do?
I don't think you're going to sign anyone, if I'm being honest with you. I think this is a smoke screen now. I thought you were going to get somebody in during the last 2 weeks, but I just don't see why United are dilly-dallying over the reported 17 million. Like, what's the issue? Do you know what I mean? Like, make the signing already. And that's why I don't think that he's going to sign anyone. If you're dallying like this over Tellers, the transfer window shuts on the 4th of October.
Yeah, you have to understand we do have a big squad. Like we've got a lot of players who are obviously all on high wages. So I can understand trying to offload players to bring in players because you can't keep paying all them wages and keep bringing in new faces. But it's just obviously I do have concerns.
But no one wants your players. No one's in for Lingard. No one's in for the 28-year-old Phil Jones. No one's in for them.
So no, yeah, you are right about Phil Jones and Lingard to an extent. No one is looking at those players, but we are in a process of getting fairly good money in for Smalling and Andreas Pereira. Rojo's got clubs that are sniffing around him, as an example. The Romero situation,
James could still go as well.
Yeah, James looks like he might go out on loan. Romero has got a lot of interest in him from 3 or 4 clubs across the Premier League. Those players leaving will raise a fair bit of money and save a lot. And like we're saying, mate, I get your point about doing things right. But the clubs that are successful, look at Man City, look at the money they have. Look how long they've been negotiating for, and after a centre-back. All summer they've been working on that deal. And this is a club with a bottomless supply of money who are perceived to be excellent. And they've only just now got the Ruben Diaz deal done. And why? Because they had to offload a defender. They didn't, because of balance in the books, they had to get rid of somebody, and it was Otamendi this time round. And that was the big sticking point. So if it's okay for City to take the whole summer until the last week with their bottomless pit of money, with a trillionaire owner, to take this long to get their biggest deal of the summer done, I'm really not sure that it's fair to criticize Man United for taking. We've already got one big deal done, but why are United criticized for wanting to offload players first before buying someone?
Well, don't get it twisted, mate. I'm not trying to criticize United in a sense of I'm trying to criticize that. What all I'm saying is that these deals should have been done. You knew what you needed. The way I put it to you is, mate, is Ollie knew what he needed when he's finished 3rd last year. Why weren't these steps already put in place to offload these players to do bids for the likes of Sancho, Tellers? I'm just saying that there should have been a lot more smart moves there from Manchester United. Back in the Sir Alex Ferguson days, that would have all been wound up before the season was over.
Let me just respond to that, Terry. I think you need to understand that when it comes to offloading players, you have to have clubs who are also interested in these players, and with interest, a lot of these players that we're trying to offload, they have big wages. Majority of these clubs who are rumored to be in for those players, I don't think they'll be paying those wages. And a lot of players, like, for example, Phil Jones. Will Phil Jones really want to leave Manchester United? He's getting good wages. He doesn't want to just get up and leave like that. I mean, I'm sure the guys enjoying football,
and that's what's
so you have clubs who are also interested in these players for them to move, and it's also in their own interest and the agents as well.
You're right about one thing. It becomes about legacy, because Manchester United have Romero on 90 grand a week. 3 or 4 clubs over the last month have come in for it, and this is what Ollie is trying to fix at the football. I'm not denying that we've operated poorly for the last 7-8 years, overpaying players, not getting out the deadwood out quick enough. Some of these deadwood players should have been put on loan 2 or 3 years ago. Use the loan system, generate interest, and that's why it takes time to undo all of this. Because Villa came in for Romero, a price agreed with Man United, but Romero said, "Hang on, they're only offering me half of my current wages to leave. I'm not having my salary cut in half." And that's where I feel like we as football fans need to be a lot more understanding that these problems that were created by previous managers, Woodward and the Board, before Ollie, are going to take. They're going to take a set period of time to be undone. And I think that's where we can't allow ourselves to become impatient. But equally, even during the bad times, the length of time it takes us on average to sign our marquee player of the summer and to sign our first player and whatnot, our average is in and around the same ballpark as all the other top 6 sides. There is a bit of a myth that's floated about that we're the only team who takes forever to get deals done. I mean, I look at Liverpool, arguably the best run club in Britain at the moment, especially from a transfer point of view. You spent 8.5, 9 weeks negotiating for a £20 million deal, as an example, because you were trying to drive the price down. That seemed, and it's brilliant. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. Man United try and do the same thing, and everyone says, we run ridiculously. Why didn't we just get it done sooner? When anybody else does what Man United are currently going through, trying to negotiate price down, trying to shave $1 million, 2 million, 5 million, 10 million off, everybody else is called brilliant business minds, wonderful run football clubs. Man United do it, and suddenly it's, oh, we're terribly run. There's no planning. It's all up the wall. And I just feel there's a little bit of hypocrisy in there from the media when they try and sort of view us in that way. And then you hear reports that we might end up getting a £27 million deal for Pereira, and it kind of gets brushed under the carpet around, well, that if we're going to start talking about who's got the best negotiators in football, why anybody would pay more than, I actually thought the decimal place was in the wrong point when I read that report. I thought someone's put the decimal place in the wrong area. That's going to be if that happens, that's one of the biggest and best pieces of businesses I've ever seen in football, because Andreas Pereira is not worth £27, let alone £27 million. But no one will ever praise us to do anything good. It's always just, we're bad. But boys, I have got to go. I've got to jump into a meeting, but I appreciate all your opinions. I love it. That's what the Football Terrace is about. Terry, thank you. Pav, Kish, appreciate you all coming on. We're going to be back later on today. Remember, tonight, Arsenal, Liverpool, watch along and post-match reaction show live on the Football Terrace. Until then, take care, everybody. Look after yourselves. God bless. And we'll see you all soon. Bye-bye.